Welcome to HB Reddit Stories. Today we will see stories of r/am I the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents I didn't have a kid, they did, and they need to take care of her, not me? My parents had me, 15F, when they were 18 and 19. They always made it so obvious they resented being parents so young, and added to that they never tried to be good parents. I typically spend most of my time at friends' houses. I don't have extended family to rely on. They disowned my parents for having me so young, so friends' houses were a positive in my life that made me feel more comfortable than being at home with my parents. My parents never did the typical parent stuff like helping with homework or showing up to support me at school. I don't think they ever attended a parents' conference for me. They ignored a lot of stuff I needed to get signed, and I'd have to get right in their face on the last day to get signatures. My birthday and Christmas have never been a big deal or celebration. They do celebrate their wedding anniversary, but that's a them thing. When they told me 2 years ago they were expecting a baby, it really surprised me, but then it hurt because sometimes they said stuff that made me feel like I didn't exist. Like how they were so excited to have a baby and how they couldn't wait to be parents. A friend of my mom's did remind her of me, but then she and dad said I was basically the too early practice run and this was the real deal. When my sister was born, they were so attentive to her that I ceased to exist completely. I got sick and my school was trying to call someone to pick me up early, but they ignored the calls, and when I got home they had taken the baby out for a family day. When they got home they hadn't even realized the school called because they turned off their phones to enjoy family time. My mom quit her job a month after my sister was born. She wants to be a som, and she and dad want at least one more kid. My dad leaves work early on Fridays so he can spend more time with the family, mom and sister. My parents tried to have another kid for over a year and mom isn't pregnant yet, so they're jumping to fertility treatments. They told me I need to watch my sister for a few hours every week while they attend those appointments, and they gave me this detailed list of stuff she needs and what I'm going to do with her. I told them I won't and that they had her so they need to take care of her because she's not my kid. My parents told me it's a few hours a week and not a huge deal. Dad told me I need to look at it as paying back all they did for me. I said no and told them they don't give a crap about me, so why would I want to help them? Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. Neglecting to pick you up when you are sick and calling your life a practice run is such a horrible thing to get from your parents, and I'm sorry they have neglected you. OP replies. It is, but I'm used to it. They were showing all that without words for years. Though the practice run part is funny to me because what practice did they get? I can't say they ever really did much/any parenting, so it's just like, what are they talking about? They didn't make the most of their practice run for people who see me that way. Tell them you'll do it if they can name your favorite food, favorite color, and best friend. When they can't, tell them you'll be giving their baby exactly as much attention as they have given to you over the years. Give them that wake-up call. They clearly need it. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. They clearly just see you as a babysitter, and it sounds like they couldn't even do the bare minimum for you when you were growing up. OP replies. That's exactly how it was. I'm honestly surprised they didn't put me in foster care at some point. But then they'd have to pay. I'll never get them choosing to keep me for this. Putting me up for adoption would have been kinder. You're not the bad guy here. It sounds like you've been put in a really unfair position. It's completely reasonable to want your parents to take responsibility for their child, especially given their lack of support for you. OP replies. Thank you. I know it's not her, the child's, fault, but I really don't want to be responsible for her or helping them when they don't look out for me at all. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom's family I don't owe her because she had gender disappointment? My mom never wanted a boy. She wanted girls. Apparently her dream was 4 daughters. But she had me, 16M, first. I have seen photos and videos of the day I was born. She cried hysterically when they told her I was a boy. Then she refused to hold me. After we were cleaned up, she cried about not using the name she had chosen and said she didn't know how to move on from it. All this was caught on camera. Eventually my paternal grandma took me, and she was the person to hold me in photos and videos taken during the rest of our hospital stay. My paternal grandma was my sole parent figure for the first 8 years of my life. She took care of me and I spent so much time at her house. Sometimes I was there for weeks. Then she had a brain bleed and died. So I was left with a mom who wanted girls and not a boy, and a dad who wanted to be a provider and nothing more. My mom had my sister, Lily, 2 years after me. So mom got her girl and Lily got all her attention. While I got grandma until I was 8 and then nobody. My mom and Lily are super close and mom adores Lily. Lily got the bigger bedroom, she gets the gifts, she gets all her favorite snacks, she gets to do all the extracurricular activities she could ever want, and her birthdays are huge parties with huge gifts. Christmas she gets at minimum 25 gifts from mom alone. Mom typically gets me one, never anything I'd like or want, but thought that counts, which is 0. My mom's family don't act too interested in making up for my lack of parental love. And in the last couple of years mom and I have argued more and I give her a hard time. Dad's never around to give him one. But mom? If she wants to ignore me then she can hear how crappy it is, and if she wants to treat my sister like a perfect angel then she can hear about it. Mom has mentioned how I ruined her dream of 4 daughters. We were at mom's parents' house Friday and mom gushed about Lily doing good on a project and the scooter she got Lily to help her get around easier. She got Lily a custom helmet and a personalized lock for her scooter. She couldn't stop talking about it and I told her she really does love to shower her favorite in gifts and praise. My mom's family told me I should take it easier on her and said I should understand we had some little troubles because of mom's gender disappointment. I told them I don't owe her crap because she had gender disappointment and that I didn't ask to be born to a mom who only wanted daughters. They told me I lacked adult understanding and compassion. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. Your mom is toxic and extremely shallow. So many out there are desperate for a healthy baby, regardless of gender. She's blessed with just that and rejects it. I'm so sorry your mom is like that and for the loss of your grandmother. The good news is, you're almost an adult. My advice is to focus on yourself and work hard so you can get out of there. Then you can choose when you see her and in what capacity. Side note, I really hate the concept of gender disappointment and feel it's becoming more obvious with these huge trendy gender reveals. Nobody needs to see their parents bratting because they're not what they expected. People need to grow TF up and realize what's important in life. Opie replies. I actually saw some people react just like my mom on those. Watching one of your parents get hysterical and freak out because of the sex you were born makes you feel really bad about yourself. It's how I felt anyway, and I questioned if even grandma really loved me if mom didn't. Not the a-hole. Your mother needs to grow up. You are in no way responsible for mitigating her disappointment that the fantasy she created in her head, long before you even existed, didn't materialize. Her inability to cope with reality should have never been your problem. It is grotesque to expect a child, which you are at 16, to be understanding of a mother's immaturity. Continue to call your mom's behavior. Speak up for yourself. And go no contact with her and anyone else defending her BS as soon as it is legally and financially possible. Not the a-hole. That's not gender disappointment, that's some disgusting and cruel neglect on your mother's part. I had to use quotation marks because no real mother worth her salt would ever do such a thing. I always wanted to have boys growing up because I was a huge tomboy as a child and now I'm the mother of 2 girls. I only felt slight disappointment when I found out my oldest was a girl. From the moment she was born, I had this entire new vision of what life would be like sharing it with a daughter and fell in love with being a girl mom. That's the way it should be. I loved the experience with my oldest so much that I was just as happy to get a second daughter. If I'm ever blessed to have a son, I know I'll love him just as much. That's what parenting should be. Not the a-hole. Can I give you some advice, Opie? From one unwanted gender disappointment to another, you need to gather your birth certificate and social security card and store them somewhere safe. Doing this now will make leaving so much easier in the future. Also, Google Equifax, Experian, TransUnion Credit Freeze to freeze your credit so your hateful mother can't use your identity to take out a loan in the future. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter, yeah, I get it, you hate him, when he went on a father-daughter trip? So, I, 42F, have 2 daughters, Emma, 17F, and Lucy, 10F. The issue revolves around my husband, who is Emma's stepfather. Emma's dad passed away when she was younger, and I remarried 3 years ago. She and my husband don't get along at all, and she makes it clear she dislikes him. My husband has tried to bond with her, but Emma shuts him out completely, refuses to talk, and ignores him. We all know she will never see him as a father figure, and we are fine with it. Here's where it gets tricky. When Emma was younger, her bio dad would take her to father-daughter outings. We have a lot of pictures of those. Lucy was too young to remember any of them. We thought it would be nice to do again, since Lucy does see her stepdad as her dad. Specifically, they would go to a pumpkin patch and then carve them. They went to the pumpkin patch yesterday and had a great time. Lucy and my husband really bonded and had a good time. The issue is Emma. She is pissed that he took over the tradition with Lucy. That my husband stole the tradition and I am disrespecting my late husband memory. I was exhausted from hearing the same arguments over and over. So, I snapped and said, yeah, I get it, you hate him, but your sister sees him as her dad and doesn't have these memories like you do. Are you really doing to ruin this for your sister? And no one owns going to a pumpkin patch. She has been pissed and calling me an insensitive jerk. She is also getting on Lucy's butt for going with my husband. My mom thinks I am a jerk here and I need an outside opinion. Top comments. Not the a-hole, he didn't steal anything. Does Emma now believe that for forever now anyone who goes on a father-daughter excursion can't? How narcissistic and self-centered. That is just plain silly. The only person here who is being disrespectful is Emma towards Lucy, trying to deny her the love and support from your husband. And that should not put up with in no uncertain terms. Tell your to butt out. Opie replies. That's another issue, it is definitely hurting their relationship. Lucy's seen him as her dad and Emma hates it. Why not start a totally new tradition where all four of you go together? It did sound like that you were trying to recreate something that was once owned by your daughters and their bio dad. Opie replies. Oh, that would be worse, trying to make her have family time with a guy she hates. Not to mention she would make a whole point about how he isn't family to her. That would be a no. Not the a-hole. Emma is allowed to feel disconnected, frustrated and hurt. What she's not allowed to try to do is harm her little sister's relationship with the man she considers her dad, let alone try to target her and make her feel guilty pursuing it. That's something I'd put a stop to immediately because you're allowing a really toxic trait in her to blossom and damage your family. No one is forcing her to have a rel with her stepdad. No one is forcing her to like him. In fact, she's allowed to do things like totally ignore him when he's speaking to her, even though that's a plainly rude way to treat someone, especially in their home. But she's allowed to moan about these feelings privately to you and perhaps a therapist, but that's it. She's not allowed to make them other people's problem. She's not allowed to tarnish a happy memory for Lily. She's not allowed to constantly dump on her stepdad. Get her into therapy and make it clear that there's a line between expressing yourself and lashing out, and that she's crossed it, and in her lashing out she bullied her sister. Next story. Am I the a-hole for following my late sister's wishes and kicking our brother out of her funeral? My sister passed away recently after a long illness, and before she died, she made very clear instructions regarding her funeral. She specifically did not want our brother, John, to attend or receive any of her ashes. To provide some context, growing up, my sister wasn't kind to John. John also was not great, they fought like cats and dogs. As an adult, she sought therapy, recognized the damage she had done, and tried to make amends. She apologized multiple times and reached out, but John refused to reconcile. He was clear that he didn't want a relationship with her. When she became ill, my sister made one last attempt to reconnect, asking John to visit her. He declined again, stating that he had no interest in repairing the relationship, even as she was dying. This hurt her, and she made it clear that if he didn't want to see her while she was alive, she didn't want him at her funeral or receiving any part of her remains. In her view, if he couldn't show up for her in life, he had no right to be there in death. John showed up at the funeral uninvited. I think our aunts gave him the date and time in line with my sister's wishes. I asked him to leave. He became angry, caused a scene, and accused me of being cruel and preventing him from saying goodbye. Several family members have since criticized my decision, saying I should have let him stay for closure. saying that funeral are for the living, but I pointed out this was her last wish. He thinks I'm a huge jerk and I am refusing to give him anything of hers still. The family is mostly split. So outside opinion. Top comments. Info. Are you the legal executor of your sister's will/estate, or otherwise formally connected to the end-of-life process? Did your sister inform any other close relatives of her wishes John, either verbally or in writing? Not the a-hole. Opie replies. Yes. I informed them. I don't know why he'd attend if he didn't like her. Was he just there to cause one final scene? Not the a-hole for refusing access to a private event for someone not invited. Opie replies. I don't know, he made it clear that he hates her until she was his ash. I don't even believe he deserves to be at the funeral. He may be her brother, but he never acted like it. Not the a-hole. You are honoring your sister's wishes. Did you make sure to tell John this? Info. Was there any consistent cause/reason behind their fights? Has John ever articulated his reasons for not forgiving her? If so, what are they? I think this is important because there may be a very good reason why John never forgave her. I could go either way with this. Funerals are for the living, not for the dead, so I could see Opie allowing John in an attempt to bring healing to the family. On the other hand, Opie was simply obeying her sister's wishes. For me, I would need to know what occurred that, in John's mind, was unforgivable. This would lead to understanding whether he was being ridiculous or if he was right in not forgiving. Opie replies. It mostly was because they were pitted against each other often, which wasn't their fault. They did the same sport, basically did the same stuff. She also won more often, which didn't help that dynamic, which made him feel invisible. It was the more you do the more our parent loved you type of deal. Only the winner got rewards and attention. He blames her for his crappy childhood. Our mother was not great, she already has passed away. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not getting special treats for a neighbor kid who has a disability? Every year at Halloween we give out chips instead of candy. My wife and I think it's fun for the kids to get chips to go along with their candy. We buy ahead of time at Costco, so there's always plenty. What we don't use will be saved for things like barbecue later in the year so people can have their own bags of chips. I have a neighbor Debbie who is really upset about the potato chips we give put because her kid don't eat them. She thinks we should offer some other options to her kid because he has a disability. I don't think that's fair, and I told her it's extremely rude to ask people who are giving out free stuff for Halloween to change things for just one kid, and I told her I'm not doing it. When her child comes and knocks on my door, he gets chips like everyone else. I let the kids pick the types of chips from the bowl that they like, and I feel like that's more than generous. Debbie said other neighbors are accommodating her child disability for Halloween, and I should think of others. I'm older, so I think a child should be grateful for whatever they get for free on Halloween and not expect special treatment for a disability when getting free items. Edit. My wife and I decided we don't want to deal with it anymore and will be donating the chips to the local school and churches for their Halloween party. Lights off at our house. Top comments. Not the a-hole. So, my kid is on the autism spectrum, and he only eats Skittles Littles and Sour Punch Bites. He will not touch any other candy, and trying to bribe him to taste it just leads to him gagging until he pukes. You are not responsible for accommodating every kid on Halloween. You're a freaking person, not some business/organization, giving out free candy. The only accommodation I would ever think of asking for would involve me, the parent, providing the treats and just asking the neighbors to give my kid that thing. Nope, nope, nope. Not the a-hole. New level of entitlement there. Part of Halloween for me was always trading the stuff you don't like with friends as we trick or treated or siblings when I got home. If nobody wanted it, it went to my parents. You're not required to provide snacks for any of the children. If the child doesn't like chips/can't eat chips, he can skip your house. It's not like you're causing the child to starve. Not the a-hole. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel HB Reddit Stories.